What's up, Royal Spartan Tribe? This is Royal Spartan 125, back for yet another great reaction. This is 10 strongest horror movie villains. It's by WhatCulture, and it's another great horror list that I love to do. They're good fun. If you like my reaction, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and share this video on social media because it helps me out. Let's jump in.
The grand irony of the horror genre is that, unlike almost every other type of movie, the villain is usually more of a protagonist than the poor saps they're stalking. So for any horror film that spawns a sequel or two, this typically means the villain has graduated to a certain level of iconic notoriety. These murderous characters are what bring fans back for sequel after sequel, in awe of their mighty power sets and unique manner of dismantling the human body. But slasher movies are a dime a dozen, and so only a small number of horror villains can truly stake a claim to ranking among the strongest and most powerful the genre has to offer. This power might be rooted in pure physicality, be entirely supernatural, or in fact be a beguiling mixture of the two. But one fact remains the same: only the most pervasively terrifying and dominant horror movie villains need apply. As a result, you wouldn't be surprised to learn that strictly human villains, like Scream's ultra-clumsy Ghostface or Saw's scheming Jigsaw, don't really have much of a place on this list. I am the heavyweight champion, Ash from WhatCulture Horror, and these are the 10 strongest horror movie villains. 10. The Predator. The Predator, and Yautja at large, are unquestionably one of the most iconic sci-fi horror species of all time. An extremely well-equipped breed of hunters with a penchant for visiting alien planets, that is, usually Earth, and throwing down with the finest combatants they have to offer. The Predator can see in the infrared spectrum, allowing them to easily detect warm-blooded creatures in most environments, while their armor typically comes with a powerful shoulder-mounted cannon. The piece de resistance, though, must surely be their deliciously devious stealth camouflage. As a result, the Predator can make mincemeat out of most humans it faces off against, and has been able to hold its own against even the Xenomorphs. Hell, even if you're able to wound the thing, it can perform comprehensive self-surgery. And if it's mortally injured, it may just set a self-destruct device capable of leveling the surrounding area. Though its fear-inducing ruthlessness is sullied slightly by its inability to distinguish humans who lower their body temperature, and their honor system arguably makes them too logical to be purely terrifying, the Predators nevertheless live up to their mighty moniker. 9. Michael Myers. Halloween. Though Michael Myers' representation has varied wildly across the inconsistent Halloween franchise, he is nevertheless one of the horror genre's most relentless and unstoppable antagonists. While various sequels have attempted to over-explain Michael's origins, he's best thought of as a personification of death itself. Uncaring, undiscriminating, and never-ending. Myers can take a frankly ludicrous amount of punishment and still bounce back. But what is truly remarkable about him is his unsuspecting strength. Despite his fairly normal build, he is capable of insane feats of physical strength, whether lifting people up whilst impaling them with a knife, or, as in his recent 2018 movie, destroying a man's jaw and ripping his teeth out. Michael has physically dominated practically everyone who has ever gotten in his way, to say nothing of his ability to teleport wherever the story needs him to go. And of course the fact that he always manages to come back from the dead sooner or later. 8. The Thing. What makes the Thing so inherently terrifying is its ability, its need even, to find a host, assimilate it, and imitate its form, allowing it to effortlessly infiltrate groups and sow paranoia-infused discord throughout. Better still, the Thing can easily assimilate a wide variety of life forms, and even if you do manage to fend it off with fire and explosives, it is extremely difficult to ascertain whether it's actually been entirely wiped out, hence the brilliantly bleak ending of the 1982 film. Best case scenario, you can hope to escape with your life intact, as given how ambiguous this creature's physiology is, and how it's estimated to be at least 100,000 years old, it is clearly an expert at survival and propagation. Though the Thing is limited by the activity of the living things around it, without which it is forced into hibernation, its ability to divide and conquer groups makes it an incredible threat. 7. The Entity. It Follows. David Robert Mitchell's modern classic horror film, It Follows, revolves around a teenage girl, Jay, who finds herself infected with a supernatural curse following a sexual encounter. The entity at the heart of It Follows is effectively a sexually transmitted, shape-shifting creature which haunts those who are infected by it, relentlessly pursuing them at a walking pace whilst invisible to everyone else. What makes the entity so ingenuously powerful is its perfect means of replication. The only way to escape the curse is to pass it on to someone else through sex. Worse still, if the person you passed it on to is killed by the entity before they're able to pass it on, then the entity goes back down its line of victims, basically encouraging people to pass the curse on as quickly as possible by whipping it out at every opportunity. Combine this with a creature which can take any form, will doggedly pursue you 24/7, and is capable of basically ripping the human body apart, and you have a recipe for one of the most insidiously tenacious horror villains of all time. That its fate is left ambiguous at the end of the movie simply allows the dread to endure beyond the credits. 6. Xenomorph Alien.
Yep.
Alien Xenomorph is quite understandably referred to as the perfect organism, given that its offensive and defensive capabilities make it a supremely challenging foe. It all begins, of course, with their intensely traumatic means of reproduction, with a facehugger forcibly implanting a xenomorph embryo within the host's body, which bursts out a short time later. The xenomorphs are small and vulnerable for an incredibly brief time before growing to mature size.
Seeing all these things back to back, yeah, it's making me anxious.
At which point their speed and strength make all but the most resourceful humans easy prey for their jagged tail or gnashing inner mouth. And even if you do manage to land some attacks against the xenomorph, it boasts an incredible defense mechanism. Acid blood, ensuring anyone trying to attack it at close range will likely harm or even kill themselves. It is a masterful combination of terrifying stature, enormous strength, and pulsing agility, to say nothing of the even greater threat represented by one of their gigantic queens.
Yeah.
There's no reasoning with it, and nothing it really wants beyond the ability to ensure the future of its species whilst bringing your life to a snappy end. Terrifying. 5. Pennywise, It. Pennywise the Dancing Clown is obviously one of the creepiest horror movie villains ever, but it is also so much more than that. Of course, Pennywise is ultimately just one of the ancient, shape-shifting cosmic entity's forms, given its love of scaring the life out of children before snacking on them, the fear making them taste better and all. Pennywise derives its strength from fear, and can use that fear to massively screw with its victims' perceptions of reality, all while those around them are blissfully unaware. This can make targets seem crazy to others, and in extreme cases even lead to them killing themselves. Combine this with its ability to survive for literally eons and regenerate itself, and you have a foe that represents an incredible threat to kids and adult humans alike. Sure, you can argue that Pennywise is only as strong as the fear it incites, and it is totally possible for empowered heroes to basically bully it to death, but its industrious ability to manipulate in its quest to feed makes it a force to be reckoned with. 4. Pinhead, Hellraiser. Pinhead is the icon of the Hellraiser franchise.
Never watched Hellraiser. I was a kid when it first came out, so I never really got into that sort of thing. But I don't know. I've always sort of jostled with myself. Should I watch it? Is it just like dated now? Would it still be as good? I don't know. I really don't know.
And one of the leaders
Put it in the comment section if you've seen this movie. Tell me whether or not you think I should watch it.
of the Cenobites, a race of trans-dimensional former humans who visit Earth in order to harvest human souls, typically achieved through experimental S&M. That is, ripping people apart. More so than most of the other horror legends on this list, Pinhead is an incredibly vocal and intelligent antagonist, yet painted as far less of a card-carrying villain than your typical horror baddie. Rather, Pinhead sees himself as an agent of experience, willing to indulge the depraved fantasies of anyone who summons him via the Lament Configuration puzzle box, in exchange for their immortal soul, of course. While far from a relentless, mindless killing machine, the sheer extent of Pinhead's supernatural abilities make him tremendously powerful. In addition to summoning chains to rend his victims, he can teleport, conjure objects, and mentally manipulate his victims, while largely proving invulnerable to conventional attacks. The best you can hope for, ultimately, is temporarily putting Pinhead back in his box, because sooner or later, he will be back. 3. Freddy Krueger, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger immediately demands a strong placement on this list because he boasts one of the most unique power sets in the history of the horror genre. Namely, Krueger is the spirit of a child murderer who is able to kill people by invading their dreams. While they sleep in extreme vulnerability, Freddy can torment them and kill them with his vast reality warping abilities. I
want to say that I didn't really find second one, third one, fourth one, where, you know, all that scary. The first one, oh my god. Especially the scene where Nancy's in the classroom and she looks across the room, she sees her friend all bloody in a body bag walking around. No. No.
Which proves so horrifyingly authentic to the victims as to actually harm and even murder them in reality. What is so terrifying about Freddy is that he doesn't simply use dreams as a vehicle to do quick and dirty killing. He tortures his victims psychologically and typically distends their suffering for maximum satisfaction. Not to mention the inevitable futility of their attempts to elude him by avoiding sleep. Even worse still, Freddy grows more powerful as belief in him does, ensuring he is a self-fulfilling prophecy of death. 2. Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. While he might lack the sophistication and elegance of many horror movie villains, Jason Voorhees' sheer brute power and unstoppable nature nevertheless make him an easy all-timer. Perhaps the most compelling argument for Jason is his insane body count, with more than 150 kills across the Friday the 13th franchise, effortlessly dwarfing the kill totals of Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Pinhead, and so on. More than any of his genre pals though, there is a compelling physicality to Jason's kills, which are most often committed either through stabbing with a machete or intensely forceful manipulation of the human body. In one case, even literally punching a dude's head off. If that's not enough, Jason's also effectively immortal. For though several of the series' heroes have managed to defeat him temporarily, he always finds a way to come back. He may not be the fastest or the smartest horror movie villain, but Jason is a testament to sheer force of will. The living manifestation of destiny, to paraphrase Alec Baldwin. 1. Death. Final destination. Even the walking murder machine that is Jason Voorhees can't quite stand up to the antagonist of the Final Destination franchise.
I will put it back. One thing I never really watched was Freddy vs. Jason. I was told it wasn't very good. I don't know if I should watch it or not. Is it scary? If you've seen it, let me know. Please.
Even the walking murder machine that is Jason Voorhees can't quite stand up to the antagonist of the Final Destination franchise. That is, death itself. The series' delicious premise sees the invisible force of death working off those who cheat death the first time around, typically by way of a number of hilariously convoluted death sequences. And while death doesn't take a physical form on screen throughout the series, its presence is nevertheless felt at almost all times, subtly manipulating the world around the protagonist to ensure they meet their planned end. Given that the overwhelming majority of the series' characters are eventually killed, perhaps even after cheating death numerous times, the clear message is that death is the world's reigning, undisputed serial killer champion. Even if you live long enough to evade the traps.
It's been many years since I've seen that movie. Yeah. If she landed, did you see it? Just. Yeah.
As in store, illness or old age will get you eventually, though it's probably nowhere near as much fun for death. And that's our list. Which hench horror movie villain could give these guys a...
Okay, why did I just do that to myself? Hope you enjoyed this. I really do. If you like my reaction, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and share this on social media because it helps me out. Until the next video, I am out of here.